feel like it's a little, well, pretty far back to remember when I truly met Frank for the first time, but I specifically remember us finding out that we were in the same CTLT group. So this was the spring of 2019. It was the end of our junior year at West Point, and I'd known Frank through other people. I think we might have had a class or two together. Like I said, at this point, it's kind of hard to remember, but I really met him face to face, one on one, when we just began talking about, hey, are you excited? And funny enough, I'm stationed at Fort Stewart, and that's where I've been for the last 3.5 years. That's where our CTLT was in the summer of 2019. And I just got to know Frank. We realized that we had kind of the same personality, and it kind of just began there as this friendship that has lasted, man, I think almost 6 years now, right, Frank?
Yeah, that sounds about right. No, but we had that same CTLT experience that summer. Got to go down to Fort Stewart together, and we were roommates. We were in the same company. So Luka ended up going infantry. I wanted tanks. I wanted armor the whole way. So I was like a kid in a candy store for 3 weeks straight. And Luka had to deal with all my consistent babbling about tanks. Like, dude, this is so awesome! Like, look how big this tank is, and like it's in the middle of July in South Georgia, and it is just like you're covered in sweat because it's just disgustingly hot. But it was a good time. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We got to go, I think every week. Well, no, I think every weekend we went to Savannah go just to go check it out and whatnot. One weekend we went to Hilton Head Island to go visit some friends that I have out there, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, it was a good experience. And then we got back to school and kicked off the final year.
Yeah. And for the record, Frank babbles a lot about many things, not just tanks.
100%. Yeah. If you let me go, like tanks, covenant theology, like competitive shooting, I'll go off on a tangent.
My first impression of Frank, I could say like, oh, I didn't like this guy at first, and then we hit it off. No, there was something about Frank, completely honest. As much as I joke about Frank, I knew that this was someone that I was going to grow very close to. And, I never would have imagined the way that we had been posted together right after we graduated and then the Cameron Brooks DPP process. But right away, I was like, I like this guy. I was like, in fact, I was like, where's this guy been the last 3 years? Like, I love this guy. And I'm about to spend like a year with him, and that's it. I'm never going to see him again. Never would have known that our paths would have gone in parallel pretty much for the next 5+ years. But my first impression of Frank was really good. As much as I make fun of him, as much as I like to push his buttons, I knew from the get-go that he's a very special person.
Yeah. So first thing I thought when I saw Luke was like, man, this guy's short. I'm just kidding.
I can't even say anything about that because he's right,
I'm just
unfortunately.
I'm just kidding. No, yeah, no, same kind of thing. Like we both have like similar personalities, a similar background. Like we both grew up in Hispanic families. We both uh grew up doing fighting sports. We both, love watching sports together. Like I think when we weren't at the gym or we weren't at CTLT, we were watching baseball because it was we were just kicking off baseball season again in the hotel room. We were like watching baseball together. And then yeah, it was just a good time and just, like you could obviously tell we have very sarcastic personalities. I don't know if Luke and I have ever, well, not ever. We've had very few serious conversations. Most of the time it gets turned really goofy and sarcastic really quick, which is great. Keeps everything nice and light. So I enjoyed that. Plus, like, I don't know, we just kind of like feed off of each other's energy, which was great.
As much as 90% of our conversations are sarcastic, Frank is the most honest, logical sounding board I've had in my life in recent years. I could come to him with any problem and tell him just the full facts, and he will give me his honest opinion, sometimes not what I want to hear, but oftentimes what I need to hear. And he has always been there to not direct me in my direction in life, whether it's anything social or professional or career-wise. He's always been there to listen to me. Sometimes I'm just venting. It'll just be minutes of me talking straight into the phone. And I know he's listening. He's the kind of person that listens to you, and you can tell he really cares about what you have to say because it's something that you might be struggling with, or maybe it's something positive in your life that you're dealing with and you don't know exactly how to go about maximizing the benefit. But with Frank, it's always a phone call. And vice versa, I've always been there for him, and he knows that I will continue to always be there for him without a doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Luca's the closest thing I have to a brother. Like God bless me with two wonderful, beautiful little sisters, and I'm very grateful for them. But I've always wanted a brother, and I got a brother when I was like, I was like 21. I was like, cool. Now I finally got one. But no, 100% what Lucas said. Like, there's just a logical sounding board, but also like sometimes like when I'm because I live up here, I live in my head and I overthink things, and then Lucas be like, no, that's stupid. Like this is like you're overthinking this. Like this
Well,
is
not
dumb.
as aggressive, but sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes I need it though. Sometimes I need to get, verbally slapped around a little bit just to get a clear picture. But no, 100% what Lucas said. Like if I ever got a problem, something I don't understand, or something like, or even a new opportunity where I'm like, hey, should I pursue this or not? Like you know me very well, and he'll shoot me straight every single time.
I guess you could say Cameron Brooks reached me first, pretty early on in my army career, and it was someone I knew, like a friend of a friend, and his name's Alex Papas. He's the one that first introduced me to Cameron Brooks. He told me all about it, and I was like, oh, okay, this is good. I'm just a couple years in, so maybe this is something I'll look toward, toward the end of my first contract. But funny enough, not even 6 months after that, Amber Robles actually reached out to me over LinkedIn and she was like, hey, Gianluca, I'm from Cameron Brooks. This is what we're about. You seem like someone we would want to bring on board. And I was like, that's crazy because I actually was looking into, getting involved with you guys, like applying and becoming a candidate. But isn't it too early? And she was like, nope, it is not too early. In fact, the earlier you start working with us, the more time you'll be able to work with us before your career conference. And like she was throwing career conference DPP at me. I didn't exactly know what these meant yet, but I'm very thankful that she reached out at the point that she did because from this point in time, it has been almost 2 years that I have worked with Cameron Brooks since I took the first candidate assessment until just now, January, in the career conference with Frank and I were in the same career conference. And just looking back on those 2 years, it was an incredible journey of self-discovery and professional education that I don't think I would have been prepared for before my ETS from the Army had I not been involved with Cameron Brooks in the first place. Now, Frank has better details about when I first told him about that. I just know it was the same year, it was in 2022. But Frank, you take it from here, man.
Yeah. So it was 2023 because I had just gotten here to recruiting. No. But I remember you had called me from, was it? No, it was Lithuania. You had just gotten to Lithuania. You had just gotten to your apartment or
Yeah, so
whatever,
fall of 23, yeah.
yeah, and it was October, and you were in Vilnius, right? In
Yeah, like Vilnius, the border area.
Yeah, you were there and you called me and you started talking to me about that whole process. And I remember at that point in time, I had been in recruiting for about 4 months, and I was like, this is really not what I want to be doing right now, at all. And I had just started preparing for selection physically to go to that. And then you and I had spoken about it, and I just did some deep soul searching for a little bit of time to figure out like, yeah, my ish like just the things that I don't like about the army are not going to change by changing the job. So yeah, I remember having that conversation with you, and then we ended up hitting it hard with the DPP and all that fun stuff. I remember us texting about the books, and I was like, dude, this is a piece of cake. Like we're 18 months out from the career convert, or was it 14, 16? I don't know. I can't do math. So I'm not an engineer, but we're a couple months out from the career conference, crush this book list, and then we just like start practicing interviewing and getting after it.
Yeah. And there's the referral option for when you're doing the DPP process with Cameron Brooks. You know, you can refer anyone that you know, maybe you work with or that you're just friends with, that's a JMO that you think could benefit from Cameron Brooks. But I about ran to Frank with this idea. I was like, hey, this is right down your alley. Like this is you've been talking about like building a career after the army. And when I tell you these guys have it all and they've been coaching me and I'm learning things I never knew about business. I'm still a lieutenant. That's when I knew like something, I had something special with Frank because it wasn't just like, hey, like here's, here, hey, Cameron Brooks, here's Frank's email, here's Frank's phone number, let me know when you reach out to him. I went straight to Frank. I said, hey, Frank, like you got to check this out. Cameron Brooks Development Preparation Program, you got to do this. And since then, we've both been at the same pace. Even when I was on rotation, Frank, I don't know if you had come back from rotation or not, but still, we were still working at about the same pace, about the same phases through the tabs. And then, eventually the interview preparation process and then the resume process, the pre-conference process. Frank and I have been there step by step the entire way. And I think if anything, working with Cameron Brooks together has only enhanced the brotherly bond that I have with Frank.
Yeah, absolutely. No, like I remember like we were texting about I think we were on like the same portions of the development preparation program, and we were like, "Wait, do you get this? Does this answer to this question sound stupid? Like I feel like I sound dumb right now." Uh,
That was definitely, and I would call Frank right
yeah,
back. I'd be like, "Yo, Danielle said I have to add more bullets to my resume. I don't even know." And Frank's
yeah,
like, "Oh no, this is good. This is a good content." I was like, "Oh, okay, you're right. You're right."
yeah,
A lot of collaboration at times, like we just
100%.
mentioned, it's pretty funny, but working together with Frank through the DPP process like has been helpful, and also like you see us like our relationship. It adds like a more even more human factor to it, you know.
Yeah, it made the conference a lot more fun too.
I think it was very important to have Frank initially, like early on, because when you begin development preparation program, it kind of feels like I wouldn't say on your own, but it's very individual. You know, Brock will call you on occasion, maybe Joel will call you on occasion and work with you. But then you start meeting other JMOs once it gets closer to your conference and you start the interview preparation program. And it's a little bit daunting. The thing I can most relate it to is like you're showing up freshman year at college. You don't know anyone. You just know that you're all there for the same purpose. It's kind of like awkward. You don't really know anyone. And then, Cameron Brooks is like study groups. And then you're like, whoa, I might know you. I think I had a class with you way like years ago when we were cadets or in ROTC, but just having Frank there as a part of my network that I already had helped a lot, helped me calm the nerves, so to speak, and really get past the like, okay, I need to meet people in my conference group phase and just dig into the studying, dig into the interview preparation.
Yeah, no, just not say that you stole everything I was going to say, but pretty dang close.
Usually do. It's all
Yeah,
right.
it happens that way. Anyway, no, but no, 100%, dude. Like when we showed up, with each other in the network. Not only that, like you said, we had a couple classmates in the conference as well. But no, like that having the network there is huge. Not only for the study groups, but just for like, hey, how are you building out your resume? How are you, or and just full disclosure, like some of this, like getting out of the army stuff, it's like kind of complicated. Hey, are you, how are you doing these medical appointments? Did you shave your face before you went back on post? Like, can I go to this appointment in civilian clothes? Like that kind of stuff. Just like the small little things that don't sound like they're going to be a big deal, but they are a big deal because you don't want to show up someplace and offend somebody or look wrong or look out of place. So having someone else like in that network to help you out is super important. But like Luka said, we had classmates who were part of this too. And it was just kind of cool just to reconnect with them, a little bit. I mean, Proverbs talks about there's wisdom in a multitude of counselors, and having multiple people to kind of, you know, uh, you know, especially in the study groups. Like our study group that we had, it was constantly changing. But everybody gave different feedback, and there was lots of wisdom, I think, in there. We were critiquing each other's answers, like, "Hey, I think you're good at this," or whatnot. But even before all that happened, I remember I had a call with Pete Van Epps about, hey, where do you see yourself? Are you still wanting to do mostly team leadership and a little bit of sales? I was like, yeah, I think so. 5 minutes into one conversation, Pete was like, you need to put more sales on here. You need to pursue sales a little bit more. And I remember like I trust Pete 100%, like absolutely. But then immediately after that call, I called Luka. I'm like, do you think I'm cut out for sales? Like, am I stupid? Like, or am I like, do you think I could do this? Because I've never pictured myself in sales whatsoever. So I called him and he was like, I don't know, dude. Like, you might not be that great at it because you've never sold anything before. I was like, okay, fair enough. But I think over time, and that we had continued that conversation, he was like, not, especially with the reading program. What was it? Integrity selling that we read. He was like, no, I definitely think this is definitely more feasible than you thought it was. And then lo and behold, I take a position in sales, which was great. So thanks, Pete, and thanks, Luca, for all the coaching and advice along the way. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah. So with Luca, honestly, and this is gonna sound weird. This is gonna sound funny, but just hear me out. Like in PCS to Corporate America, it talks about reading the whole slew of the books so you can start changing your vocabulary. Like I'm telling you, after a couple months, I heard Luca was already using corporate American language. I was like, that doesn't sound like Luca. It sounds very different. I'm like,
Who is this? Who are
who
you?
is this guy? Like, where is he? What? Like, is he doesn't even wear a uniform anymore.
You
What
don't
is?
even sound like you're from New Jersey anymore.
Yeah, you don't even
Who's
sound like
Luca?
you're from New Jersey anymore. You know, like you are you even a soldier anymore? Like, I don't know. It was that was like a big thing, but he sounded more, and not that Lucas sounded dumb before, but it's like he definitely sounded more intelligent through this process. And I was like, every time we'd call him, like, did he just was he just talking about like mid-level leadership? Like, what are you talking about? I thought you like we were having a conversation about some battalion staff, and he was talking about what was it? Stakeholders, and I was like, bro, I'm talking about my battalion leadership here. What are you talking about stakeholders for? But that kind of spurred me on. I'm like, man, I need to start using this language because I'm not going to be using battalion staff and all that language in the private sector. I'm not going to be using that. So that was like the biggest thing I think that stood out. That and also just like planning beyond the next 2, 3 years. Because like in the army, like, every 2 to 3 years you're going to be moving somewhere else. You're going to be having a different job. So you only plan in those little blocks. Everyone has the same career progression, so there's not too much creativity in there unless you go to. Anyway, that's too far off on a tangent. Anyway, see, look, you got to keep me in the. You got to put the lanes up while we're bowling.
Guardrails up.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
yeah, the guardrails up.
I
Otherwise,
don't know. Sometimes I like watching you drive without the guardrails. It's all right.
yeah. No, but that was the big thing that changed. But like seeing Luca like start thinking more than just 2, 3 years ahead. He's like, okay, I could see myself doing this for a couple of years, but then like should we pursue an MBA? Should I get my PMP? Are we gonna do Lean Six Sigma? Are we gonna start getting belts for that? Like, how do we progress so we can make ourselves more marketable and much more of an asset to whatever company we end up going to? And I think just that long view was another big thing that I noticed changed.
I'd say the thing I most noticed over the course of the Cameron Brooks process with Frank is his confidence in himself. Now, I could go on and crack jokes about, like Frank and our friendship, but in reality, over the course of the year plus that Frank and I worked with Cameron Brooks, Frank's a very confident guy, through knowing him as a cadet and early on in our JMO careers. He's a very proud man. He's proud of where he's from, what he does, what he believes in, what he stands for. But even, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot, Frank. There are times that he would be he just wouldn't know, what path do I take? What do I do? And luckily, Frank is someone who can put his gigantic ego aside. I'm just kidding. But he can put his ego aside and ask for help. And that is something that I noticed as we progressed through DPP, that he was becoming more confident. And maybe it was based off of what he had said before. It's like, whoa, like Luca's using language like stakeholders and management. but I could see that he was very aware of what he wanted professionally and in a career and even in life. Um, and that's not to say that he was never that way. He knew what he wanted in life, or else he never would have become an army officer in the first place. It takes dedication, it takes commitment. But as he progressed, learned more about corporate America and the professional world outside of the military, outside of the service, it was really rewarding as Frank's friend to see him grow more confidence and go through the tabs with him and say, this is something I can do. I'm not sure about sales. Has a call with Pete Van Ups. Sales is something that really calls to me. What happened? You ended up taking a sales position. You're hired as in a sales position. And just seeing that was it makes everything so worth it because it really shows that he progressed as a person. He builds as himself. He builds himself up into what he wanted to be. And I definitely think that, the tabs and all the processes that we went through with Cameron Brooks really helped out. And it's exciting to see where he's at now and, where he'll keep going in the future.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take the baton real quick because I remember in the follow-up process, multiple times a day, we were calling each other like, "Hey, did you hear back from this person yet? Did you hear back from that person yet?" Like because we had already racked and stacked who we wanted to interview with, who we wanted to continue to do the follow-up with, what we thought. I mean, every possible bit of the future planning out. Like, hey, this is what I think the future could look like with this company, and then with this company. And I remember us being very, I guess, nervous and very impatient, waiting to hear more in the follow-up process. But it was a continual, like, hey, just be patient. Like, and we would call each other like, hey, this person hasn't reached out yet. I don't think they want anything to do with me. I thought maybe I botched the interview, maybe it was horrible. And it was always like hey, you don't know that. They're very busy. Remember, hiring new people is not their primary goal right now. Like what? Not right now. They're a big company. They got a lot that they're busy with right now. They're going to get to it eventually. And not only that, like you have other opportunities here. You're focused on one thing. It's like no, I'm not going to use that analogy. Never mind. But no, it's just that there are options that are still out there, and in reality, like the type of leader that Luka is, and the type of way the way that he leads, and the way that he just connects with people naturally. Like Luka's the kind of guy. Like when he called me and told me that he got the role of working in the embassy, I was like, they literally could not have picked a better person for that role. You want to talk about somebody who can talk to anybody, relate to anybody. I don't care what social class you're from. I don't care what country you're from. Like Luke is your guy. Like he's a relatable guy. He's a likable guy. He's funny. He's short, so he's not that intimidating, But like it was just kind of cool to see all that. So I'm like, hey, look, dude, you're be okay. Just remember, like wherever you go, like, have confidence in not only the leadership skills that you're bringing from the army, but also in yourself as like what you bring to the table as a man. So that was, I think, the advice I gave you. And then on the flip side, he was telling me, he's like, hey, don't be too hasty because I remember I was like, I'd come back from a certain follow up, and he was just like, and I was like, dude, I'm ready to just accept this offer right now. I'm ready to just, I just want to go. And he was like, oh, hold on, hold up, like take a breather, like think about it, because I'm just ready to go.
Yeah. No, yeah, Frank's right. I guess the advice I would always give him is just like, again, through the follow-up process, as he mentioned, is just be patient, because and for anyone going through DPP right now, just be patient, especially right after you finish the conference, because the conference is not the end all be all. You will work for any set amount of time with Cameron Brooks leading up to your conference, and the only thing they will mention is the career conference. And then right before you start your career conference, you had a packet called the follow-up process. And it was there that I realized that the conference is just the first step. And Chuck always puts it very well. You're not done with the process until you have an offer in your hands. So you can have however many yeses, out of however many initial interviews during the career conference, but nothing matters until you ace those follow-up interviews and you're receiving an offer of employment from one of these companies that you interviewed with at the career conference. And that was something that I had to internalize. And that what I would also tell Frank is we have to make sure we're making really good steps here because we did, such and such out of such and such at the conference, but it's not over. We still have about 3-ish weeks before we actually get offered anything or accept an offer. And that was just the advice I would always give Frank, and he would always sound it off as well, like back to me, because I'm patient to a degree. And I mean, I'll be completely honest, the follow-up period for me was nerve-wracking. Like, I was like, when am I going to get this call? When am I going to hear from XYZ company? It was a little bit, it was scary. But, having Frank there just as like a voice of reason really helped a lot.
Yeah, just like not just one real quick thing. Like not only that, I always told Luka too, I'm like, hey man, like if none of this stuff pans out, you could always come be my gardener. Like it'll be fine. Like you'll have a job. So
So, actually, funny enough, that was towards the end of our visit for the Loves follow-up in Oklahoma City. So that was Oklahoma City Airport. Um, I had just come from my in-person tour with McLean in Texas the day prior. And Frank, where were you coming from?
I got to sleep in my bed Wednesday night, thank the Lord. I flew back in from Wisconsin from my interview, my follow-up with Amcor uh Wednesday night, slept in my own bed, immediately headed back out Thursday morning to fly out to Oklahoma for the Loves interview. And I remember I landed and I was like, when are you supposed to get in? He was like the middle of the night. I was like, sweet.
Yeah,
And they had took us out to dinner that night. Loves, they were great dinner. It was super good. And then the whole time I was like, hey, there's just guys going to show up tomorrow. Luka, horrible employee. Like he's going to be the worst thing ever. Um, no, not at all. I definitely didn't say that. I kind of like I was hyping Luka up big time the whole time the night before. And then finally got to see him at breakfast the next morning.
yep.
Just absolutely crushed like a dozen eggs for breakfast. It was great.
Yeah. That whole trip, that whole week for me, to be honest, was plagued with travel trouble. I got on pretty late, so while Frank and the initial group that was there to see Loves for that Thursday, they were dining that Wednesday evening while we were in the air. And I think that me and the late group came in at like midnight. Um, and got to my hotel room and I was like, well, I love to go to sleep, but I have to get my clothes ready for tomorrow. So up to like 1, just steaming my suit. And then the next morning, I crawl out of bed, throw the suit on, and I'm like, man, like I am tired. I'm gonna need the biggest cup of coffee and maybe a 5-hour energy. And I go downstairs and I see Frank for the first time, I want to say, because you had come to visit Savannah summer of
It was right when I
2023.
PCS'd here to Knoxville. That
Yes.
was June of 23,
So it had been
over a year.
was just below 2 years at this point because
It was
since
like
I'd last seen
18
Frank.
months, 18,
Yeah.
19 months, something like that.
Yeah. And then all the travel tiredness. I mean, it wasn't really that far for jet lag at all. It was Texas to Oklahoma, but just like the general travel fatigue, it just went away. Frank comes in, gives me a big bear hug, and like he said, we just got a plate full of eggs, and we're just talking about the last week and everything, and it was really, really rejuvenating. So we spent the whole day with the Love staff, went to visit one of their locations there in OKC, and then met with the corporate executives that then began to interview, for our second round interviews. And we actually took that picture in just like the departures area of Oklahoma City Airport. Um, Funny enough, it was my idea, but for a completely different purpose. I was like, hey, what would be funny to send to Brock is a picture of Frank and I, but I'm just pretending you're some guy that's like, hey, I just met this guy. He says his name is Frank, and he wants to do the Cameron Brooks DPP process, you know, I don't know. I don't know if he's got the guts. I don't know if he's material that you guys want. But I think that picture just adds to just is to a testament to our friendship through the years because we had pictures as cadets, as second lieutenants, first lieutenants. I don't even know if we had pictures as captains because I promoted while we were over like I was overseas, but it just adds on, and it's good to it's almost symbolic if you think about it because almost all of our very important occasion pictures, they're in uniform, whether we were cadets or we were, officers. But that was the first time we had taken a picture not in uniform. So that kind of like it was for me, it was a moment. It was like, look at how we progressed through the years. This is where we met, Army careers, 3, 4, 5 years, and now look at us. We're done with the career conference with Cameron Brooks. We're on our way to securing our professional future after we leave the service. And that picture is honestly like frame worthy, if we're being honest. Uh, I still recommend blurring out Frank's face, but overall, I think it's a great picture.
Yeah. Yeah, good luck with that. No, yeah, just to echo what Lucas said, like, it was just such a good time to, again, like I said, I saw other classmates when we got to travel to OKC, which was cool. But it was like when I saw Luca, I was like, finally, I'm like, my brother. Like it's like it was a good reunion, And then, what was it? It was your flight. They got delayed. Uh
Yeah, the
your
travel
flight
trouble
got
did not end with me
yeah.
arriving at the
No,
OKC.
not at all. Your travel trouble went the whole week and your flight got delayed. And I was like, sweet. This is just more time so we can have a beer together at the airport. So it was, yeah, it was, you know, God's providence. He was like, these two need to spend some more time just like catching up. It was
Yeah.
good.
It got delayed and then undelayed. So
Yep.
then, fun fact, Dallas Airport is very large. I did not know that until I landed. And when I landed at Dallas for my connection, I got a text saying that my connection was boarding. It was a good time. That's probably the first time I ran full sprint anywhere in a full business suit. I felt like I was in the movie Inception.
Yeah.
And I'm not even exaggerating. I ran the whole time. It was at a different terminal. And I got to my gate. It said boarding group 9, and I did not see anybody board after I did. I literally ran through Dallas. And it's like when you experience that, you're like, oh my goodness, like that was terrible. But looking back on it too, it's kind of just it adds to the experience because now I'm sitting back and laughing about it. I feel like it that was just the cherry on top, like with seeing Frank is like, here's a good thing, interviews and these interviews are going well, getting to see different cities in America, seeing Frank, it's like, by the way, travel trouble. But all in all, it was good. And I was very grateful to see Frank and just sit down with him near our gates after the whole follow-up process in OKC was over. So I got hired by Love's Travel Stops. I'm gonna be an operations manager out of South Carolina. I'm very excited. I think, and Frank has always helped me look this way, but I think I've always been an operations type guy. And through the career conference, it's kind of like a shotgun blast of different career paths that you interview for, whether it's sales, um, operations, manufacturing, team leadership in management in general. And he always steered me straight, like we always do. He always put the guardrails up for me and said, what have you done mostly? What do you think you're good at? What do you think you can take from your Army career and apply to corporate America? And all in all, I ended up being hired by Love's and I start pretty soon. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. So I'm starting with Amcor Flexibles on April 1st, which I am incredibly excited for. I was hired as an account manager with my region being the South, which is pretty broad, uh, admittedly, but I'm excited because I specifically asked to stay in the South. I've fallen in love with the South ever since I moved to Fort Benning with Luka in the summer of 2020. It's just, I love the South. There was a small moment where I was super ready to move out to San Antonio, Texas, which would have been an awesome time. It would have been wonderful. It would have been great. But after speaking with the Amcor team, I was like, it probably would make more sense to stay in Knoxville just because it is so centrally located to everywhere I'm going to need to travel for my job, which makes me a little sad because I do love Texas and I loved Texas when I lived there. But I'm also super grateful because I've got a great family here at my church in Knoxville, Tennessee, and it's just one less gigantic change to change in my life. Um, so I'm incredibly grateful to start. I'm ready to roll. Like I said, like the second my terminal leave starts, I was ready to get in the job. I don't like idle time. I don't do well with idle time. I don't like to take time off unless it's traveling for other people's weddings. Literally, it's all I've done the last 2 years. Is just travel for other people's weddings. It's the only leave I've been able to take. But um, yeah, I'm just ready to hit the ground running. I'm super excited. And no, like Luke was saying, like he shot me straight. He was like, no, you're gonna be okay at this. You're gonna stay in the region you love. You're gonna do something, you're gonna work with a company who not only respects you, but respects your time and gives you flexibility to think about what you want to do in the future, which it's a huge reason why I accepted Amcor's offer. It's just the company culture that you really don't get a feel for the company until you get to meet them in person. You meet some of the more of their employees. You do the on-site with them, it's just an incredible company where everybody there was excited to talk about their job. They were excited to be there, and there's lots of flexibility, and they really do respect people and their families, and they're very flexible with to try to make the job work, which is ultimately why I decided to accept that offer. Just a great culture. Just don't suck, Luca. That's like really the big thing. No, no, I'm just playing. No, dude, you're stepping into a role that it's different and it's gonna be new to you, but also not super new. Like you know how to lead people, man. Like you are a leader. You've been a platoon leader twice. Not just for Bradley's, but for Mortars too. Like you know how to lead people. Like fall back upon that. Don't, but that being said, don't get complacent. Don't think that you know everything now just because you have experience doing that. Continue to develop yourself, read more books, get mentors and get counsel from other wise people because, like I said earlier, like the Proverbs say, there is wisdom in a multitude of counselors. And having that, you're gonna go and you're gonna do great things, especially because I know the kind of leader you are. You're gonna be the guy toe to toe on the line, mopping and sweeping with them and not complaining about it because that's just who you are. It's how you were raised. So you're gonna do fine, man. But like that being said, like it's new for you, but it's not that new. So just have confidence in yourself and that you know what you're doing, but also be humble enough to learn.
Yeah, appreciate that, Frank. Um, Advice for you, I haven't even said anything.
I just can't take you seriously.
Well, in all seriousness, Frank, you know the type of person you are fundamentally as a man.
Yeah.
My advice to you is don't change any of your fundamentals. You're a strong-willed, committed man. You love your family. You put pride in your work. You believe in very important things that mean a lot to you. And it's going to be an adjustment. I'm going through it at the same time as you. And many people before us have gone through the same transition out of the service into corporate America, whether it's Cameron Brooks or not, whether it's sales or not. Um, just don't be afraid. It's going to be different and it's going to take some time to get used to. But as long as you remain the same strong-willed individual that you have been all the years I've known you, you will be just fine. Put pride in your work, put pride in building relationships with those around you and outside of your organization. And just like you told me, keep reading books, keep getting better at what you are good at and what is important to you and the people around you. You have a very supportive family. I'm very fortunate to have met them multiple times, and I know that they're behind you every step of the way. Never, if you ever have doubts, just know that you are well prepared to achieve anything that you want. Just put time and focus in there and you can do anything. Just never change who you are on the inside because that is the reason I am your friend in the first place. It is for anyone watching who maybe are on the fence about beginning with Cameron Brooks and going through the development preparation program. And I'll tell you, I think my case is a little bit abnormal because people on average spend about a year with them before their conference. And for me, it's been almost 2 years, as I mentioned before. If you have any doubts about what the Cameron Brooks team will do for you, just know that over the last 2 years, I've discovered so many skills about myself and so much confidence that I have in myself. And I just have met a team that will go to the ends of the earth to make sure that you are well prepared for your transition out of the military. And I have nothing but great things to say about just the overall quality of the program and the people involved with you during the development preparation program. And it doesn't hurt to have your friend there with you going at the same time.
Yeah, if I could just echo what Lucas said, like the Cambrooks team is truly remarkable. Like I've never met so many people willing to just drop everything and help. Because like, if it wasn't Luka that I was venting to and asking for career advice, it was the Cameron Brooks team. Um, no, I'm super grateful for Cameron Brooks, and I'm grateful for the process, and I'm honestly grateful, Luka, that you introduced me to the Cameron Brooks team because we wouldn't be here together now if it weren't for that. So I appreciate you, brother, for that, and also just yeah, for anybody else who's thinking about making the leap from being a military officer to jumping into corporate America, like do it. It's an exciting time. It's going to be a
As
lot of
simple as it gets, do it.
just do it. It's like that's in all reality. Like, I think especially as leaders, as officers, as people who like to plan, we tend to overthink things. There are so many opportunities out there. I can't. I was out processing for my battalion just before I went and started my skill bridge program. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you'll be back. Nobody ever makes it out there. They'll be back." I was like, no, well, no, like I got full confidence. Like there's so many opportunities out there, especially if you've put in the work to prepare. There's so many opportunities.